Hey guys, welcome to Code Spy. I hope you all are doing good. We are back with another video. In this video, we are going to see how can we create image of our microservices application using Docker. Okay, so for microservices application, we are going to take our last project, that is online hotel booking system. Okay, if you want to know about that project, you can go through my last video, or you can get the link of this video in description of this video, or you can click on I button. From there also you can watch that video. Okay, so without wasting much time, let's get started. Okay, so to create image of your application, first our first step is like we have to install Docker in our machine. Okay, but for a Docker you need to install Windows subsystem Linux in your environment or in your operating system. So why do you need Windows subsystem Linux? So Windows subsystem Linux allows a developer to run Linux operating system on your machine, or Linux commands, Linux tools on your machine on Windows. Okay, so it is a kind of mediator between these two operating system. So for Docker you need WSL2, because Docker uses Linux containers for some of the internal operations, Linux kernels. Okay, so you need that setup. To install WSL in your machine, you have to open Windows PowerShell. Okay, after opening PowerShell, you have to type a command WSL, then space, and then double hyphen install. Okay, so after running this command, it will install Ubuntu operating system in your machine, or it will install Windows subsystem Linux in your machine. After installing this, you can operate your Windows operating system through Ubuntu shell or Ubuntu commands also. Okay, so after installing this, you have to install Docker in your machine. Okay, so for that, you can go to Google and you can type Docker desktop for Windows. Okay, you will see like this option, install Docker desktop on Windows. You just click on this and you will see option here, Docker desktop for Windows. So I'm using Windows operating system, so I will select this option, Docker desktop for Windows. After clicking on this, it will download it and then you can install it. Okay, once it is installed in your system, so you will see containers, images, volumes, and other options are there. So like when I will create image of my application, all these images information will come here, and when I will run those images, then it will come in the container section. Okay, container is nothing but a running image. So first we are going to create image of our backend application, then we will create image of front-end application. Okay, so for backend, as you know that we are using Spring Tool Suite as a IDE. So I will open that, and I am going to take example of my last project, that is online hotel booking management system. So here I will show you like what all the configurations you have to do to create image of your application. Okay, so I will start with the first application, that is Eureka. So in Eureka you have to open the pom.xml file, and in the build plugin section you have to add this configuration. Okay, if this plugin is itself is not there, then you can add this build plugin, but by default it will be there. So you have to add this configuration plugin or a configuration tag in this build plugin. So when the image, so in the configuration, if you see that we are using image tag and image name will be like this. So when the image will be created for this application, it will contain all this information like project version, project artifact ID, and code spy. I'm using some static word in the beginning. Okay, so after this, you have to create a Docker file in the root of your root folder or root directory of your project. Okay, so you can see that I have created this Docker file here. To create this file, you have to just right click on this project and click new, and then you will see option of file, and then you have to enter the name Docker file. Okay, So it is already created, so it is saying that docker file already exists, but make sure the name should be like this only. D should be capital and F should be capital. Okay, then after creating this, you have to add some configurations in the docker file. So first you have to enter, like you can see that we are using some tags here: from, expose, add, entry point. So in from, like, you will add base image. So this image will be pulled from Docker Hub. Docker Hub is a kind of public repository for Docker, images. First it will find this image in the local. If it is not there, then it will pull from the Docker Hub. Then we are exposing our application on 8761. So your Docker containers will listen your application on this port 8761. Then we are adding, our jar file of our application. We are copying it to some different name, eureka server.jar. This is our actual jar which will be created after building our project, and we are giving it to a specific name here. Then entry point will contain all the informations which you want to run or execute when your Docker container will run. If you want to run some commands or whatever you want to do during that running containers, you can define those things in our entry point. And that is all you need to do for every application. Now you are ready to create image of your application. So to create image, you have to just do right click on the project, and then you have to select run as, and run as you have to select Maven build, this option. So when you click on this, here it will ask you to enter goals. Okay, so in goals you have to enter this command. Okay, so here you can see that we are skipping test, and after adding this command, just click on run. Okay, so once I click on run, you will see that so as you can see that it is starting this building image docker io, and whatever name you have given in the pom.xml file, it is picking the name from there, and it will take some time, and after that it will create image of your application. So like as you can see that it is pulling some images from Docker Hub, what all the configurations are required for this application. It will pull all the images from Docker Hub. Once the Docker will create image for your application, you will see something like this: successfully built image, and this log will come on the console, and build success warning or info will come on the console. Okay, so same thing you have to do for your other applications. So after creating the image of your microservices or your backend applications, now it's time to create image for your front-end applications. So in front-end, as you know, we are using Angular in our last project, and the IDE which we were using for that is Visual Studio Code. So I will open that only, and here also, like, you have to do some configurations. So here you need a Docker file, and its name should be like this: Docker. D should be capital and F should be small. In the backend, D and F was capital, but here it will be only the D will be capital. Okay, and make sure the name should be like this only in the front end application. Then you need to do some configurations here. This section will build your complete project. Okay, whatever the dependencies is there, what, like, the way we build our front end application. Then in the second step, we will create image of our application. So for creating image, basically we are using nginx server. This server belongs to Node. Okay, it will have its own configurations. So for that you need to create this file nginx.config. So it will copy all the configurations of this file in this docker based file. Okay, so if you see here, like, we have already created this nginx.conf. Okay, so that's all you need to do in front end. We will use this command to build our application. This is the name of our application, hotel service app. and you have to use dot after like one space. Okay, when you hit enter, it will create image of your application. Okay, so as you can see that our Docker image is ready. Okay, now we will run these images in Docker as container. Okay, so for that we are using Docker Compose. So Docker Compose is a kind of tool which is used to run multiple containers at once. Okay, so for that it uses a file that is called docker compose.yaml file. So you have to add all the configurations in that file, like whatever images you want to run. So I have already created the docker compose.yaml file and added all the configurations here. So here version means like for a docker compose we are using 3.8. Then we have defined, after version we have defined services. Okay, so as you can see that we have multiple services are defined. So for each and every services, services will have its name, then image, whatever image we have created. So in the backend we have not created image of Zipkin, because Zipkin is a kind of library which we are using in our application. So I mean, first the Docker will find this image in the local. If it is not available, then it will pull this image from Docker Hub. Okay, then we have defined memory limit, like for this service. Then we have defined ports. So in ports, as you can see that we have defined two port numbers. So first port belongs to your host and second port belongs to your container. Okay, what is the need of two ports? So basically, you know, when your images will run or when your containers will run, like there might be a possibility for container to container communication. Okay, in microservices, if you have seen my last video, like we have multiple, you know, my services are defined. So every services will communicate to some other services for some of the operations. So for that container will use this port, but you know, you cannot use this port outside of your Docker. For that you need to define a host port. So your application will run on this port and your Docker will listen your application using this host port. Okay, then we have defined networks. So every services will be registered to a network. Then we are using MySQL as a DB. So images we are using MySQL latest. Then again we have defined networks, then we have defined environment, then again it will have two ports, then volumes. So in volume, if you see that we have defined some entry point file, docker entry point initdb.d. So if you see here, we have three files here, like hotel service.sql, invoice service.sql, and user service.sql. Like when you know your MySQL container will run, it will execute these init files. Okay, so what all the configurations we have done in these init files. So if you open this user service.sql, so here we are, you know, creating a database user service. So when you will run your application, the DB should be created. So for that, these are some entry point commands which we have defined in these files. Okay, so when the MySQL container will run, it will create databases for all these SQL files which you have defined in the init folder. Then we have some other services configurations like Eureka Server. As you know that we are using Eureka Server as a service registry in our backend application or in our microservices. So whatever images you have created, this is the, you know, name of that image. Then we have defined memory limit, then ports. So in Docker file you added a exposed port or a port on which your application will be exposed. So this is the you know, port. Then this is container port again. Then we have defined network. Similarly, we have defined for every applications. Okay, so whatever, you know, images you want to run in your Docker, you have to define all those configurations in this Docker file. Similarly, for front-end application in Angular, like we have defined this image tag here. Then its port, this is the port for your host port, and this is the container port which you defined in that nginx config file. Then again it will belongs to our network. So that is all you need to do. So if you can see that we have two networks here, hotel microservices network. This network is for your backend application and this is for your front-end application. So that is all you need to add the configurations in docker compose.yaml file. So after adding all these configurations, now we are good to run our images as container. So for that, we are going to use a command. This is the command to, run your docker compose.yaml file. And when you will execute it, it will run all your images as container. So once you hit enter, you will see some information on the console. So as you can see that first, MySQL DB is there. So it is not available in local. So it is pulling this image from Docker Hub, which is a public repository, and it will, make it available for you in local. Same thing for Zipkin server. We don't have a image in local, so it will, after completing this first image part, it will pull Zipkin server from the Docker Hub. It will take some time, and after pulling all these images, it will run your images as container. So as you can see that whatever images was not there in the local, it pulled all the images, and whatever images was there, it just started that. So now all our images are running. Okay, so now if I go to Docker desktop, and as you can see that in the container section, it will show you all the images are running. Okay, so for front end we have Angular 1, then for a back end we have all these containers are there. Now you can see that every application will have its own port and all that. So if I go to this backend, you can see that no any application is running. And similarly, if I go to front end, it is also not running. Okay, so now if I go to the browser and hit request for the front end part, see our application is running. Okay, so now we have successfully deployed our application in Docker, or we have created images of our microservices in Docker. You can check some part, like if you want to know. So as you know that like this is a kind of new application, no any data will be there. So first you have to add it. So if I go to login, I have to, if I try to log in using some existing detail, it will not work. See, missing user not found because that user is not there. So I have to create it. So I will show you that. Okay, now I have created the user. So now if I try to log in, I should be able to log in. Okay, now I can add some hotels because DB is new, application is new, so no any data will be there. So I can show you that everything is working. I will add some dummy data. City, Kolkata. Then I will upload some images. Okay, save image, add hotel. Okay, so now our hotel details are added here. So if I search for the same hotel, it should show me the result. Goods by checking checkout. I will add something. Okay, so now that hotel details are coming here. Okay, so it is working, our application is working, we have deployed it in Docker. So this is the way to create images of your application in front end or back end. So just follow the steps, whatever I told you, you will be able to create image. And one thing is, like, if you want to see the logs of your applications, you can go to this Docker desktop and you can just click on any of the services. You will see all the logs here. Like if you are not using any custom log configurations in your code, you are only using console logs, then it will show you here. Okay, and if you can see that all the containers which are running, it will come here. Then images, whatever images you have created, all images section will come here. So you can see that whatever in use, its status will be in use, and whatever you are not using, it will be unused. So this way you can create image of your application. I hope you liked this video, and if you have any doubts, you can comment or you can contact me using my website. You will get its link in the description. And if you like this video, please share this video, subscribe my channel. We'll see you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.